Hi, I'm Harper, and this is Harper Carroll AI. And today we are interviewing Will Cathcart, head of WhatsApp, and Vishal Shah, VP of AI products across all of Meta. And he was previously VP of product at Instagram and VP of the Metaverse. If you don't know me, I'm Harper. I have 2 degrees in computer science, specializing in AI from Stanford University. I was at Meta building AI and machine learning systems for over 4 years. And then I was the founding engineer and then head of AI ML at a startup that was then acquired by NVIDIA. And at that startup is when I started teaching AI online, starting with fine tuning coding guides. My goal now is to educate everyone about AI and how they can use it and make it less scary when they understand exactly how it works under the hood. Today, we're talking about Incognito chat with Meta AI, which are completely private conversations with AI. They're built on top of Meta's private processing technology. And this is a really big deal because we give way too much data to AI companies. I mean, we're sharing our most sensitive personal, health, financial data and just trusting these companies. And that's fine. But there's also an alternative, which is something that Meta is presenting. This product comes out of Meta's collaboration with Moxie Marlinspike, which was announced in March of this year. Moxie created Signal, and WhatsApp worked with him before in 2016, as you'll see in this conversation. But this is really, really exciting technology. This is groundbreaking. So if you find this conversation interesting and important, share it with a friend, give it a like. Follow my content or subscribe to me if you like this channel or you like the questions that I ask. And as always, please leave your questions and comments in the comments below. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. Let's begin. Will and Vishal, great to have you here today. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Tell me why you're here today. Tell me about Incognito chat with Meta AI.
Yeah, it's really a really exciting development. Just a little bit of context just to set the scene. We've been heads down in the new AI lab that we built last summer. And we just launched about a month ago our new model and product. That's the Muse Spark as the model and the updates to Meta AI. And we knew kind of going in that this was a beginning of our new model family. It was not the end, it was sort of the beginning. But we're super happy with how the model turned out and the reception to the product. We've gotten double-digit increases in sessions and the usage both inside of the Meta AI app, but also across WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook has been tremendous. I think people have come to appreciate that AI that's good is in the places that they use, and that's been very helpful for us. At the same time, I think while the model has been very successful at driving use cases that people care about in their personal lives, shopping and local and things like health, some of those topics, like health, like finance, you as a person really want to be able to do that in a way that is as private as possible. And so we, as a company, have been investing kind of in private spaces for a really long time. I'm going to pass it to Will in just a second to talk about this in more specifics, but it just felt like something was missing in the ecosystem for people to have really, really private chats with AI. And that's basically what we're launching today, and we're really excited about it because I think it is an industry first. Well,
yeah, and so the feature is called Incognito AI, chat with an AI Incognito. And as Vishal says, like a lot of the conversations we're starting to have with AI is really sensitive, and it may require you revealing information to get the help that you want, sending some of your financial information to ask for clarification, like what does this mean, or maybe you're trying to follow instructions for a doctor, if you want to clarify something, you got to send some health information. So these things are just very sensitive. And so the idea behind Incognito chat, as we're releasing it, is that it's truly private. It's built on top of this technology we call private processing, which means that when you ask a question, we at Meta can't see what you asked. And we've taken all of these steps I can talk about to sort of guarantee that. But it means that unlike some of the other private modes you might find with various AI tools, this really means what it says. It means, okay, I can ask this question and know that someone somewhere else might not see what I said. And the way it works, when you ask the question on your phone, we encrypt the connection between you and the Incognito chat, which is a Meta AI running on a server that we then also run in a confidential hardware environment so that we can't actually log in and see what it's doing. You can think of it as it's like taking a phone that we don't have the passkey to, right? In the same way where you couldn't get into a phone you didn't have the passkey to, this is a server where we can't get in. And then there's a bunch of other stuff we do, which we have in a white paper and security experts are auditing and looking at to sort of build around that to create the protections that keep us from being able to look at what you're saying. And so that means you don't just have to trust us. You can look at what a bunch of security experts are saying to see that we've built this in a really sort of principled way to deliver on the promise to people. So that's coming very soon. We're also going to be, as Vishal mentioned, this is like a technology we want to push on. So there's other things we're going to build with this. For example, we have a feature coming called Side Chat, where if you're in a WhatsApp thread, you can pull up Meta AI and have it have access to that thread while keeping it where no one else can see. Because like, you can imagine maybe you're in a thread and you want to ask a question about it, but you didn't want to copy and paste that and share it with other people. You want to keep it private. So this technology will let us build things where you can ask AI's questions based on really private data.
Wait, can you walk me through that example of the side chat again,
Yeah.
like where you would use that?
Yeah. So as an example, like imagine you're in a WhatsApp group for your kid's school or your kid's sports activities, and there's like dozens of messages that fly by. This is a very common problem I have as a parent. And you want to like, hey, wait, can you remind me what are the 3 things I need to bring for my kid to this event? Or like, what day did they say this was happening? But you don't want to copy and paste the whole private thread about a bunch of your kid and their classmates' school and share it somewhere that's not secure. So this gives you an option where you can take that. It's based on a WhatsApp thread. So it's based on something where there's an expectation of strong privacy and get a quick answer. Or maybe someone said something in the thread, you didn't quite understand what it meant and you want like to look it up, but you don't want to have to go type it all out. And again, you want to keep the information protected. You can just pop up Side Chat and say, hey, what did Vishal mean by this?
Actually, we see that a lot in research. People take screenshots of a thread they're in, and then they upload it to another AI app to kind of understand what's the joke or what's the meme, and one that's screenshotting it and then sharing it. But then even if you use one of the other apps' kind of disappearing or incognito style mode, like it isn't actually guaranteeing that these are private. There may be different guarantees on how long the data lives or who can access it over time, but it's not actually private in the same way that what we're launching here is, which is that it's guaranteed that we can't see it, no one can see the conversations you're having.
Cool. And all the conversations are temporary, right? Or can they live locally on your device?
They're temporary is what we're launching with. I do think you could imagine us adding features over time to let you keep it, or maybe you want to have a long running conversation with in a long running incognito chat. We won't have Meta won't keep a copy, right? The server is designed in a way where we can't. What we're starting with, because that resonated the most with people in terms of their understanding of the privacy, was, I ask the question, it immediately goes away. That helps the mental model click. But you can imagine us building things over time that build on this and let you save the history for yourself in a way that's just on your phone.
Cool. And how does Meta mitigate the privacy risks associated with exiting the environment to access the web? So for web searches and like current data.
Great question. Yeah. So we've done a lot of work on this because a lot of queries a lot of things you want to ask an AI do benefit if you get up-to-date information, right? You don't just want data through the moment Muse Spark was trained. So the way we've done this is there's a setting, you can turn this off if you don't like it, but what the Meta AI, the Incognito experience will do is it'll do a web search without knowing who it was for. So it will take the question you asked, it'll say, here's some more information I could use. It will craft a web search. We'll show you what that query was in the UI so you can see exactly what was searched for. And then it will go execute that query, but without ever knowing who you were. So for example, if I search for, maybe I take a thread, a bunch of my friends, all the movies we've been talking about, I'm like, hey, what are some good movies I could suggest this weekend that fit everything we've talked about? It might go do a search, which is movies opening this weekend, but it won't have the name Will Cathcart. It won't be tied to me. We'll just know one of the Meta AI users in the world search for movies opening this weekend. And we'll show you what that query was too, which is a nice protection to know that we're not searching for something that really ties to you.
Very cool. And I also saw that you limit the amount of queries that happen, and you limit both the length of the query and also the amount of queries that you can do in a certain time to prevent against like prompt injection or malicious actors, right? Is that correct?
Well, and also just a lot of work we're doing to try to sort of make sure we're crafting these very general queries that are broad and get Meta AI the information it needs without tying it back to you.
That makes sense. You've turned off KV cache's persistent memory in order to have the chats be fully secure, right? Because you have to like get rid of it. Once it's returned to the user, you wipe it on your local machines. And so then every time the user chats with the model then has to pre-fill and run the KV compute on that. And so I'm curious, how has that affected compute usage and how is that trade-off? Is it significant?
Yeah. You're getting into this is awesome. You're getting the technical details, including some that, are going to be beyond my expertise. But the way we've thought about it is let's start with, you got to make it private. How do you make it truly private? And then we've worked very hard and actually also waited for the latest model, Muse Spark, to get that into a system and try to optimize as best we can. So for example, there is slightly higher latency on using this. You'll find that the response does take a little bit longer. And there's a lot of functionality we don't have that you will have in a regular Meta AI chat. For example, the version we're starting to launch with only handles text. You can't send it an image. So there's a bunch of limitations here from these trade-offs that we've made,
Yeah.
where we're trying to build something that security auditors can really pour over and think about all the ways someone might get around it. And we have as many defenses as possible.
I also wanted to call out, I don't think a lot of people know that WhatsApp was one of the first to introduce end-to-end encryption in 2014 when they partnered with Moxie Marlinspike's team at what was Open Whisper Systems, which then made Signal, to integrate the Signal protocol. And then WhatsApp launched the end-to-end encryption across all message, photo, video, voice calls, and group chats in early 2026, just about almost exactly 10 years ago. And so tell me about how this new endeavor is linked with Moxie Marlinspike and with Signal, or at least with his new project.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's a great. So Moxie's done a thing called Confer, which is a version of a very private, similar technology. He's also helping Meta with some stuff. So more to come. This was something we were working on before even Moxie joined, and we started to get his help. But I think having him here is an exact example of we can get the help from someone like Moxie, innovated so much on privacy technology on the internet. Exactly the example you mentioned, 10 years ago when WhatsApp did end-to-end encryption, Moxie came in and helped us adopt the Signal protocol, which was a chance to bring this amazing technology to billions of people now. I'm very hopeful to see us continue to innovate on how to bring privacy to AI with his help across all of our products in the future. So more to come.
Wonderful. What measures are in place to ensure that a malicious insider at Meta cannot target a specific user for data interception? You mentioned the environment and not having the key to enter it, but is there anything else?
Yeah, there's some others. There's more too in the white paper, but another example is the routing. So actually, when you execute a Meta AI Incognito chat query, that gets routed into a random machine, right? So for example, we can't say, okay, which one is Vishal's machine or virtual machine? So for example, one threat would be, okay, we started with a private when we tried to work some code in to change the way things worked. There's a program where security auditors can look at this and actually look at the code that's getting shipped and some of the code around it. So there's a bunch of steps we're trying to take. This is actually where feedback from the security community is awesome. We've had auditors look at this. We have the white paper that's open and available for anyone. There's a bunch of security experts who can join our program to do some of the transparency work and look at the things that are going on. So as people suggest things too, we can make it better over time, which I think is really important as we continue to push this technology and try to bring it to more aspects of AI.
Yeah, very cool. The artifact transparency strategy that enables external researchers to verify the privacy claims is a great addition that, the public doesn't just have to trust you. They can actually have external researchers go and verify the claims. So cool.
A lot of this stuff is super technical. And I think what's helpful for billions of people using it is knowing that the people who know the most about this have ways to check on it. Sorry, Michelle, you were going to jump in.
No, I think between this work, which I think is really important, but also we started off with some of the private processing stuff that we put out last year and now bringing Incognito chat. The reason, this is not just a WhatsApp story. Also, it's sort of across our entire AI ecosystem. So Incognito chats are also coming to Meta AI a few weeks after we launched on WhatsApp. So very quickly. And a bunch of the stuff that Will talked about, oblivious routing and some of the security transparency, we are looking into how it might fit into other AI products too. So think of this as the beginning of a series of things we want to do. And one of the reasons Moxie's here is to kind of help figure out how we inject this into many more of our products. Just as a principle, I think it's a really important thing for us to keep working on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge idea. And I almost wonder if it's going to then set a standard across the other companies, or if it will just remain, Meta uniquely doing this. And I guess, Moxie's app as well, or his platform as well.
I hope it sets a standard. I mean, if you look at end-to-end encryption, right, with Moxie's work on WhatsApp and bringing it to WhatsApp, you have Signal and WhatsApp, but by now most services out there have or offer end-to-end encryption around communication. Not all, but it's become pretty close to a standard. And I hope the exact same thing happens here, where we take this step. Consumers love it. One of the great things that happens when you give consumers choices is other companies can see what they did and see, oh, wait, consumers seem to like this thing. And hopefully it shows up in every AI service.
Totally. Moxie said in an essay recently that LLMs represent the largest centralized data lakes in history. Well, I guess the data passing through them, and containing more sensitive data than anything ever before. And I think a lot of people don't think about that as they're giving like their most sensitive data to these models, to these that then goes to these companies and are just in these data lakes. So yeah, I mean, you would hope, as you're saying, that it becomes the standard. But data is also valuable, and it's, very admirable that Meta is making this move. I wanted to ask because this comes just a few days after Meta announced that it's removing end-to-end encryption from Instagram Messenger. They cited CSAM concerns, which are very, very real. And it sounds like LLM interactions have different risks, like the kind of CSAM, CSAM risks are lower, I guess, when you're interacting with an LLM versus communicating with other people. But I'm curious, it is interesting timing.
Yeah, look, I think the thing I would say is with each product, we're trying to be really thoughtful about giving people what's most important to them. And I think with AI, it's really important that people have privacy as an option. As you said, we're putting all the sensitive data in there. That doesn't mean there aren't things we can do just because it's private. So this model will have a lot of trained and has a lot of intelligence and classifiers on top of it to steer how it's responding to people. So I'm sure people will go and ask this thing things that they shouldn't, but that doesn't mean it has to respond and answer their question. It can respond back with, I'm not going to respond on that topic or answer what you want. And we've taken a bunch of steps to tune it. We'll keep improving it and built on Muse Spark, which is even better than the models we've had before. In the same way that we're still very committed to end-to-end encryption on WhatsApp, as you pointed out, it's been 10 years. That doesn't mean we can't do anything about child sexual abuse on WhatsApp, even though we can't see the conversations. For example, users report to us if someone sends them something inappropriate, and we refer those reports to law enforcement, which we refer a very large number from WhatsApp compared to other services that aren't encrypted at all. So I think we can find ways to do what we can to help make these products really good for people, starting with making them private, but also doing things on top of it.
I love that answer. I think that's a perfect answer. Is there anything else we want to cover about Incognito chat?
We covered all the Incognito stuff.
Okay, sweet. So Vishal, I think one question that's come up a lot as I've talked about Muse Spark and talked about the parallel agents is how does that actually work? Because it seems the white paper seems to imply that the parallel agents are able to build off of each other, but also work in parallel, and that the parallel reasoning is almost equivalent to sequential reasoning. And I'm just wondering how that works. Do the agents talk to each other as they're thinking? Because usually when you have a reasoning trace, you're kind of building off of linear reasoning. So it's interesting and curious to me that this kind of parallel reasoning also works.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I love that we're jumping into this level of detail. I love it. The one of the unique aspects of Muse Spark is this ability to delegate in parallel. It does require, to your point, there's certain tasks where that works really well. So if you can parallelize upfront what you're going to do and then kick off, if you've played with the contemplating mode inside of web, you'd see that it figures out how to break the query apart. This is done at the model level. This is not like an agentic harness that upfront is trying to figure this out and then do that work. We do also do that. So there is a more standard, okay, you go and kick off a query, then you come back, you figure out what else you need to get the rest through the reasoning steps. And the model supports that as well. And so it might decide for a given query, it might need a bunch of sub-agents to go and, for example, build an artifact for you, build a website or build a lookbook or something like that. But in other cases, it would actually at the model level be able to parallel delegate. You can't always predict you can break things up in parallel. I'll give you another example. Let's say you have a coding task that needs to build a bunch of files in parallel that don't rely on one another.
Yeah.
You can upfront decide to parallelize that and then combine later without having to go through all the reasoning steps. So there's certain tasks that are very parallelizable and some where you need the previous input so deciding when to use which strategy is a core part of the architecture.
And then the other question I wanted to ask you was, what use cases are you hoping people would use more of with Muse Spark?
Well, I sort of give a tongue-in-cheek answer on this sometimes when people ask, because we said personal superintelligence, 9 months ago, and everyone was kind of wondering what that meant. And I think Muse Spark shows what that means. It spikes in things like shopping and local and your interests and the things that matter to you and then perception and grounding. And so the other thing actually we're doing this week is we're bringing Muse Spark to more places across Meta's products. So it was already in Meta AI, it was in WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook, but it's coming to voice in Meta AI. It's coming to glasses, all of our Meta Ray-Bans and the Oakleys. And so we're starting to roll that out. So now you get that intelligence in more places. We're updating our shopping product to include Facebook Marketplace listings. So if you're searching for that perfect sweater, it could be, of course, things you might find in a store or online, or it might be a thing that's available locally to you. And that's a unique thing that the product will start to showcase this week.
Yeah, I have the glasses and I'm excited to use Meta AI in them. Anyway, very, very cool stuff. Great to meet you both.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm so thrilled about Incognito Chat. And I think the world is ready for something like this. It's like a long time coming. And I just love that you all are at Meta are the first ones to do it. So I'm thrilled about this. So thank you both.
Thank you, Harper.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
If you enjoyed this conversation and learned something from it, please give it a like, share it with a friend, leave a comment. It's all super, super helpful for the algorithm. And if you like the way I ask questions or you want to learn more about AI in a way that I wish existed when I was learning it, the stuff can be really complicated, but explained well, it is really relatively simple to grasp. Give me a follow. All right, see you soon. Bye.